We're so glad that you've joined us for the Truth and Love Luncheon. This is one of our annual traditions to talk a little bit about the television program, let people know what's going on, the good things that happen from it. And I've been looking forward to this for a year. And part of the reason was last year we had some great things come out of this luncheon, and we'll talk about that here in just a little bit. For those of you who are not familiar with the Truth and Love, let me explain to you a little bit about who we are and what it is that we do. First and foremost, the Truth and Love is a television program. This June we'll celebrate 25 years of programming here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. That's a significant accomplishment. And we've always been on in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. At various times we've had coverage further than that, including several years on the Daystar television network when we were nationwide. We really had a great experience for several years there. We have, due to the fact that we've been broadcasting for 25 years, just a treasure of past materials. And there's some gentlemen here in this room who have spoken on the program in years past. Brother Cotham has done some episodes for us. Brother Workman has done some programs for us before. And we got, I don't know that anyone here, Maxie has done some before. Is there anybody else that I'm missing that has recorded Truth and Love programs? Okay, right over here. And this fellow up here has done some as well, Eddie Parrish. We've had tremendous speakers in the past, not counting the current host. And getting brutal here. I'm sure Eddie will get his shots back at me later. But over the years, because we've had so much material, we've got this wealth of great gospel preaching that we'd like to make available to the world around us. And we're doing everything we can to distribute the materials as far and as wide as we possibly can. The Truth and Love has state-of-the-art television equipment. Just this past December, we've entered the world of high-definition television, and we're thankful for the good brethren that donated toward that accomplishment. And we've been recording here. We've done 20 episodes already with the new equipment, and we're really appreciative of that. We have volunteers with the program who are ready to go. One thing that makes the Truth and Love rather unique is the size of our staff. We have Sherry, who works with us as a part-time secretary, myself, and Eddie. That's the staff, paid staff. But let me tell you, we have volunteers who work dedicated, more so than you find people who you would pay. Several of them are here, and like Larry Johnson right here does a lot of our CD duplication. Pat Libran, she's going to kill me for saying this, so y'all take notice, because I'm going to pay for it. She sends follow-up letters to congregations for us. Carl Powell, which I don't see him here, does the DVD right back there. He does the DVD duplication for us. And David, I haven't seen David here today, does the cassette duplication for us. Derek Baker does some help for us with the financial side. Larry Benedict, who I've seen here today, and he may be working somewhere, answers some of the questions that people write in. So there's a whole host of volunteers ready to help in this effort, and we couldn't do anything near what we've done without them. Do I have to really talk about Edie? Okay. And Edie, who's hiding in the kitchen, she does transcription work for us that allows us to do our closed captioning. And we really appreciate the great work that she does as well. The Truth and Love is overseen by the Brown Trail Elders. And I would consider that one of the great strengths of the program. I'll be frank with you, the elders here, when we go in with some crazy idea, some dream, the elders are not the kind that just push you away. They are asking penetrating questions. Is this going to spread the gospel message? Is this good for the kingdom? And these guys don't know much about the television business per se, but they're godly men who know how to lead in a good way and have been invaluable really to the operations of the program. And I think they need to be appreciated for what it is that they do in really pushing things along in a very positive manner. Our host is Eddie Parrish. And why do people laugh when I put his picture up? He loves it when I do that. And we really are very blessed to have Eddie working with the program. Eddie is really very talented in many ways and very fluid, very easy to work with in countless ways, and does a spectacular job. I travel a lot, visiting congregations, people who view the program. And so many people, I've had comments like that, I've never met Eddie Parrish, but just from seeing him on the TV program, he looks like he would be a great friend. And that's the type of personality that people get from seeing him on the program. And that's the type of personality it takes to do something like a television program like The Truth and Love. These are... Man, that's going to cost me big time. Yeah. We'll get to that in a few minutes. These are men who have spoken in the past on the program, some as recently as this morning. Neil Pollard, before he had to catch an airplane, recorded an episode for us, trying to add some other names to the list and try and bring some good gospel preaching with some of the excellent men that come through these doors from time to time. Just I can't say enough about some of these men who have spoken on the program. What subjects are covered during the program? How does somebody become a Christian? Something that's covered quite often. The church, Christian living, Bible authority, Christian evidences, books of the Bible, marriage and the family. We cover a whole host of subjects. And to talk a little bit more in detail about some of the things that we've covered and some of the things that we're doing and some of the statistics, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Eddie. Please bear with us. We need to let him talk every once in a while.
All right. Well, Mark is very kind and gracious in most of his words. The others I'll ignore. Let me just briefly tell you a little bit about some of the programs that we did this year that we received quite a few requests for. And then I wanted to share with you some of our mail, some of the letters that we get occasionally. I always find that interesting to see the different places from which we receive mail and some of the statements that are made and requests and all of that. We mailed out in 2007 over 3,800 pieces of media. Is that the way you say that? CDs, DVDs, cassette tapes, all those put together, over 3,800, which comes out to about 75 pieces per week that are going out to various individuals that either call in or write in and request. The majority of those, over 2,400 of those, are in the form of DVDs. That's really the popular format. We still are sending out CDs and cassettes and occasional VHS tapes still, but those are really very few. Most are ordering DVDs, and those numbers are up quite a bit from recent years. There were the two series lessons that we did this year that received the most viewer response and most requests were these. One was an 8-lesson series that we did on the church, where we basically did a topical study of the New Testament church. the beginning of the church. We talked about the worship of the church, the organization of the church, the various characteristics of the church as portrayed in the New Testament. And that was a very popular series, a lot of requests for that material. The other was a series that we just recently finished that was a survey of the book of Acts. And we got a lot of requests for that. I was going through the catalog and looking at some of the topics and things that had been covered throughout the history of the program, and I noticed that a series that covered the entire book of Acts had never been done. I found that interesting. I'm sure it was not on purpose, but there were various lessons on conversion accounts in Acts and things like that, but never one that surveyed the entire book. And so we decided to put those lessons together and do that, and that turned out to be a very popular series, 12 lessons there. And then right now, we are rerunning a series on Bible authority that's actually one that we did. It was one of the first series of lessons that I recorded when I began working with the program about 4 years ago or so. And we decided to rerun that series, and that's running now, and we are continuing to get a lot of positive response from that and a lot of requests for that material. So those are topics that really strike a chord with people that are watching. Sometimes we hear from some of our brethren that tend to the left that when you preach about Bible authority and the distinctiveness of the church and things like that, sometimes we hear the phrase that we're answering questions that people aren't asking. Well, my response to that is twofold. Number one, sometimes people have to be taught to ask the right questions. And number two, I don't necessarily believe that's an accurate assessment. People are interested in these topics, as evidenced by a lot of the response that we receive from them. Let me share with you just a few of the letters that we have received, just to let you know what some of the people are saying. This is a bit embarrassing sometimes because people are very gracious in their comments, but just to let you know some of the places where we receive letters and some of the things that people are doing to utilize the material. Thank you so much for the tapes. We use them over and over. We're not in very good health and are unable to go to church, so these lessons are what we need. On Sunday, we listen to one of your tapes, take the Lord's Supper, and at night we listen to another tape, and one again on Wednesday. That from a very elderly, shut-in couple in Dublin, Texas. Would you please send me your sermon of January 21st on the misuse of the Old Testament? I can't tell you how much I enjoy the show. Thank you for looking into the camera at all of us. Oh, I'm sorry, my wife wrote that. I'm sorry. No, actually, this, she goes on to say, it really bothers me that other pastors deliberately do not do that. It's from someone in Carrollton, Texas. Please mail me the tape on the Old and New Law. That was a 3-lesson series that we did on contrasting the covenants. I need it to study with others, from Dallas. This was interesting series of emails back and forth between Sherry and this brother. This is from a young preacher in Lewiston, Idaho, who emailed and requested some of our material. He says, I must say that I believe the Truth and Love lessons by Brother Parrish are consistently the most helpful to me in my preaching and study growth. It is my favorite spot on the GBN schedule. Lately, he just seems to be talking about everything I'm studying with someone about. Thanks for making the material so easy to get a hold of. Please tell your staff that a young preacher in Idaho truly appreciates the effort. That was very encouraging to us. My family and I have been watching the TV program since it began, and we're truly encouraged and learning more of God's Word. Continue to teach and preach the gospel. I am especially requesting a copy of the lessons on baptism. These are great. That was another series that we did a while back. This is from Houma, Louisiana. I think I pronounced that correctly. All right. I am an inmate at the McLennan County Jail. One morning when I was feeling very depressed, I woke up. I asked God to give strength to overcome my depression. So I woke up and turned the TV on. Your program, Truth and Love, was on. So I sat down and heard God's Word through you all. Since then, I have tried to wake up early Sunday to hear God's Word through the Truth and Love. He goes on to say in the letter that he had written us previously and had requested some materials, but he hadn't received those materials yet. Sometimes going into the jails, it's a little bit slower process. But he goes on to say that he was waiting for his materials when instead God sent to me a visitor whom he describes as a clergy member of the Church of Christ in Waco, Texas. Well, that's a reference to Brother Ernie Christie, who preaches in Waco, and whenever we have gotten responses from people in the jail, we call Ernie. And Ernie goes out there and visits with these folks and makes that personal contact and follow-up. And so we have received a lot of letters from this individual, and he's received a lot of materials and shared them with other inmates there in the jail in Waco. We need more of your free Christian literature and tapes. We would also share your packages with unbelievers and the lost ones. This from someone in Ghana, West Africa. I received your information about your program from my sister in Alaska. This is from someone in Butte, Montana. At the present time, I'm trying to deal with a split in our congregation. I am 71 years old and been a Christian around 42 years. I'm concerned with what there will be for my grandchildren after I'm gone. We haven't had a preacher in at least 6 years, and that's something. From Koceg, Hungary. I am a Romanian and would like to receive CD with the messages you have for Sundays. I am in Hungary now and do not have close here a Church of Christ. Me and my friend, we take Lord's Supper at home. We were baptized this summer in a church 200 kilometers far. We need messages to listen on Sunday, even if we cannot make any Bible study. Please help us. And so we've been delivering materials there. Let's see. I saw this sermon preached on television and knew it was right for my nephew. The lesson that we did called Is the Young Man Safe? This from a member of Fellowship Baptist Church in Red Oak, Texas. Let's see. Recently been given the chance to listen to your series, Understanding Bible Authority. That's the series that's running right now. At end of each lesson, I was so spiritually charged I couldn't get the next lesson into the CD changer quick enough. I would love to have my own copies of this lesson, Understanding Bible Authority, to show with others in and out of my church. From Chatsworth, California. Please send me DVD of the sermon May 13th concerning the fact that only one true church exists. I watch your show every Sunday. Refreshing to hear the gospel preached in truth and love. Mesquite, Texas. Regular viewer of Truth and Love. Thank you for your lessons. Franklinton, Louisiana. Cleburne, Texas. This is the best description and explanation of the blueprint of the church that I've ever heard. This will stick in the mind of hearers and hopefully make them want to dig deeper for the truth. My husband and I watch while we're getting dressed to leave for our Sunday morning worship service, and it gets us pumped up and ready for more. Those are the kind you like to hear. Lakeport, California. Thanks for your wonderful studies. We really appreciate them and are blessed by your work. And so all those are very encouraging. But these keep my feet firmly planted on the ground. You have apparently missed the entire point of the gospel of Jesus Christ and bought hook, line, and sinker into the gospel of Peter and Paul, which brings me to ask you directly, who is your Lord really? And you just might want to lose the false piety and indignation at those who work such evils at preaching the gospel of division. You don't need my name, just a heap more real truth than you have right now. Church of Christ, I hardly think so. So they're not all positive. And so when you deal with issues of Bible authority and the oneness of the church and things like that, there are a lot of people that are interested in that, but a lot of people aren't. And so we get some of these as well. But we read them and we see whether or not there's any truth to it. And if there's not, then we press ahead, and that's what we're doing, trying to preach the truth, preach it in love, but with firmness of conviction. And to echo Mark's expressions of gratitude, we thank you so much for your support of the work that we're trying to do.
I don't know how many of you do get letters like that, but there's days when a letter like that will just absolutely make your day. And then occasionally, like that last one, there's times when your mother can really just put you in your place. I'm kidding, you realize. Where is the Truth and Love running right now? Well, we're trying to expand the market as much as we can and expand our network. We show on the Gospel Broadcasting Network, GBN, 12 times a week, twice a day, Monday through Saturday. And that's been just tremendous for us. As GBN grows, we grow. And we've made it into a lot of areas. Like Eddie mentioned in the preacher in Lewiston, Idaho. I was in Chattanooga last year. And this man I had never seen before came up to me and hugged me and said, "It's so good to get a chance to meet you." I did not know him from Adam. And it was that preacher from Lewiston, Idaho, who through the GBN had been watching the program, learning a whole lot. Man, I'm telling you, something like that will keep you going for months. And I appreciate getting to know Nathan and the great work that he's done. Here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we're on Channel 52, KFWD. We run on Sunday mornings at 7:30 here throughout the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And it gets picked up in outlying areas, often on cable systems, and people who have satellite dishes can get it a little bit further than the Metroplex, which we're always glad to hear about things like that. We're on in New Orleans, Louisiana. We've been on since Hurricane Katrina hit. Just the first of the year, we switched stations. We've gone from WHNO to WNOL, a stronger station with wider coverage and better satellite and cable system coverage. So we have all of southeast Louisiana. That's extended us a little bit further onto the Mississippi Gulf Coast as well. There we're on at 7 o'clock on Sunday mornings in WNOL. January 1st of last year, we picked up a couple of stations, Waco and College Station, Texas. They're run at 6:30 in the morning, and that broadcast continues to do well, covering the central part of Texas. Between KFWD and Waco and College Station, basically you can go from the Red River, the Oklahoma-Texas border, down the I-35 corridor till just about Round Rock, and there's continuous coverage of the Truth and Love. If you go down I-45, you get nearly to the suburbs of Houston before you're out of Truth and Love territory. And we're just tickled to have that whole area. Starting, I believe it was the 1st of April of this year, we started broadcasting in Anchorage and Fairbanks, Alaska. One thing that's really unique up there is with 2 television stations, we've got the entire state covered. The way television works in Alaska, KYES, which is the big station in Anchorage that we use, they get picked up on cable systems and satellite systems throughout the state. So by having the one station in Anchorage, we get Ketchikan and Juneau and Sitka down in the southeast. We have Kodiak Island, the whole Kenai Peninsula, the Aleutian Chain all the way out to Adak covered. The North Slope there on the Arctic Circle is covered. Even the great town of Kotzebue gets the Truth and Love. Lord's Church there, during the peak time of the season, they have 12 members. Sometimes they're down to 2 or 3. But they get the truth and love, helping them evangelize that area. North of the Arctic Circle, right there on the Bering Sea. Getting the program, and we really appreciate that. In Colorado City, Texas, we're on the radio there. We're on the cable system in Opp, Alabama, and Merced, California. That's where some of the California information comes from, through the Merced cable system. In addition, great news, starting this Sunday, we have a new market that we've broken into in Mississippi and Louisiana. The base of this is Natchez, Mississippi, and it's on a Fox 48 WNTZ. We're on at 6 o'clock in the morning on Sundays and on Fridays as well. You may say that's a pretty rough time, but actually it works out to be a good time in that market. There was a local congregation that had a TV program in that time slot that couldn't continue it on. And so there are a lot of people are used to watching good Christian programming at that hour. So that audience that was there, we hope will just transition to the truth and love. In addition to the main flagship station there in Natchez, that TV signal is retransmitted in Alexandria, Louisiana on Channel 47, in Leesville, Louisiana on Channel 52, and in Hicks, Louisiana on Channel 61. That's 4 stations for the price of 1, twice a week. We're real excited about this market. We're close to having all the support, and Lord willing, there's a congregation I'll be speaking at Sunday morning, and we hope that'll put us over the top. Notice, if you will, the coverage map of this new market. Natchez, Mississippi, we've got the southwest corner of Mississippi, this big area of Louisiana, and that right there, my friends, is Texas. A huge area that we have covered. So we have that central part of Louisiana starting this Sunday covered. We've got the New Orleans area down here that's covered as well. So we're getting good penetration in Louisiana, and we're so thankful for that, being able to spread the gospel message there. Who does the truth and love help? I mean, we're talking about a television program, and you may be sitting there like I was the first time I heard about it and thought, so what? What's the big deal? Well, hopefully listening to some of the letters helps you understand the good that the program does. People out there who are lost and outside of Christ get to hear gospel preaching. Sad to say that we go knock doors now, and the reception isn't like it was in years past. It's harder to get inside somebody's home to teach them the gospel. But with a television, you make it places that you otherwise wouldn't. And we're able to get into homes and teach the truth to so many of these people. We're thankful for that. The lost benefit from it. Shut-ins, those who can't attend worship services, they can have access to good gospel preaching. Those who don't hear faithful gospel preaching anymore. There's sometimes I hear comments like this. I haven't heard a sermon like that in 20 years or in 30 years. That's from members of the Lord's church, that they are starving for gospel preaching. And some of them have the impression that the whole world has gone that direction. No, the Lord's church hasn't. There are some who have left the truth, but they're still faithful gospel preachers. There are still faithful congregations, and we'd like to let them know that the gospel still exists and let them hear the preaching they haven't heard for years. And hopefully that they'll come back to congregations where the truth is really preached. Congregations of the Lord's church. One of the congregations up in Anchorage has members that literally live out in the bush, middle of nowhere. And those congregation, that congregation, some of those members only make it back into town once a month or so. And then they go back out to their homes where they're miles and miles from anyone else. That they get DVDs of the material so they can have gospel preaching there where they are. In Australia, a gentleman by the name of Clyde Baggett does a lot of duplication for us. And there's many congregations in the country of Australia that this is the only preaching they have. They don't have preachers. They have to watch Eddie's face every Sunday morning. Welcome to Mary's World, absolutely. They use it for classes, one-on-one studies. It's great material there. Missionaries have access to the material as well, so they can use that to help multiply their efforts and get places they might not otherwise be able to go. Why should we use television? Television has visual and audio impact. Let me ask you the question, why do people order DVDs instead of CDs? Because you can see it. And people respond better when they can see it and hear it both. You're hitting more senses. And television is very effective in that way. Television, contrary to what so many of our brethren think, television really is a fairly low-cost medium. Here we are sitting in the middle of one of the biggest, most expensive television markets in the country, the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And we've been here for 25 years. The markets that we're picking up, that one in Louisiana, Mississippi I just showed you, $150 a week. All those stations twice a week. That's not expensive when you realize how many people we can reach. It's not that bad. Some of those, like in Opp, Alabama, and Merced, California, you know how much they pay for that airtime? Nothing. They get it for free. It's available if people are just willing to go out and find the opportunities. Television really is a virtually an untapped resource. The Lord's Church is just beginning to really understand what television is and what it can do when it comes to spreading the gospel. And there's great spin-off materials from this. We've made our materials available on the CDs, the DVDs, the transcripts, on the internet. You can watch several of our programs from our website. Again, trying to get that material out in all these different formats. You can even download video to an iPod and carry it with you on an airplane. The ways that video can be used now are just incredible. It really is hard to keep up with all the technology. The future is just wide open. Where is it going to end? We don't know. But wherever it is, we'd like to be there. And if you think about it, haven't we really let Satan use TV long enough for his purposes? When you think of all the trash that comes on the TV, and there's some people who don't even have televisions in their home anymore. And I really don't blame them. There's a lot of trash that's out there. But we can make a difference and put the gospel message out there. These people who are seeing trash continually, give them something that can really affect their lives eternally. And that's what it is that we want to be able to do. How does the program work? People watch the TV program. At the end of all the programs, we ask them if they would like a copy to let us know. We have a website they can go to. We can take emails. They can send us a letter. We just started this year an 800 number so people can call in with their requests. Again, trying to make the material as accessible as we can. And then when they do that, our volunteers get into action. They duplicate those 3,800 pieces of media that we sent out. Volunteers did all that. Busy bunch of folks that are working, trying to get this material out. And that we get that mailed out, and then the congregation gets a follow-up letter letting them know, hey, somebody in your area requested this material. Here is somebody interested in the truth. Those are great evangelistic contacts and well worthy of being followed up on. Recent developments with the Truth and Love. We've this year started doing more things in-house on the technical side. We do our editing in-house and are mastering our DVDs here in-house, which gives us a little bit more flexibility. One thing that we've started doing with the different markets is we customize the program for each market. And I'll pick on Brother Tony here, who's in Soldotna, Alaska. And up there at the end of the program, they have information about the Lord's Church, all the different locations in Alaska that runs at the end of the program. During the program, any announcements, things that are going on, a gospel meeting at this location, that information crawls across the bottom of the screen, trying to get our viewers into church buildings, trying to get them to those gospel meetings. If they're a member of the Lord's Church, that's great. If they're not a member of the Lord's Church, we're trying to get them there. We do that in Alaska. We do that in Dallas-Fort Worth. We do that in Waco, College Station, Louisiana. Everywhere we go, we customize the program for that market to try and have as much impact as we possibly can. Because if we get people in the doors of a church building, we've done our job. That's as successful as we can get. We get them in the door, and once they come to your congregation, then it's up to you all to talk to those people and make Christians out of them. We also make a standard generic version that goes on our DVDs, and that's also what we send to GBN because that ends up going nationwide, and local information really isn't applicable for them. We can now record in-house. We have a temporary studio set up in the School of Preaching Chapel. Bob has graciously allowed us to squat there for the last month while the students have been out, and we've been able to do a lot of programs. One nice benefit from this in-house studio is we have now what we refer to as the blooper reel. All the little mistakes that happen every once in a while, and we've put all those we put all those clips together and have a real nice blooper reel, had that all ready to go. But because of a significant anonymous contribution to the Teskey Children's Scholarship Fund, I'm unable to show that to you this afternoon. But we're able to record in-house rather than having to drive, and it would be, about 7 hours worth of driving to tape and overnight stays and all that. Now when we want to tape, it's just a matter of walking up the stairs, turning on the lights and the cameras, and hitting it. That's made it a lot more convenient and given us a lot more flexibility. Like I mentioned earlier, during the lectureship, we've recorded several speakers who have been here for the lectures, and we'll be airing those programs here in the coming year. We're going with a tapeless production workflow where we don't have to go to videotape until the final product that we send to the TV station. So it's a digital product all the way, which ensures high-quality production. Sounds impressive anyways. We have a new editing suite where we can do all the editing and have the equipment all interconnected. That's been a major project that we've done this year. Other projects that we're working on. Working along with the School of Preaching to record the classes that are going on. We're simultaneously recording the first and the second year classes in the School of Preaching so that we can set up satellite programs for the school. Guys who can't come here to study can get that material and study it where they are. And I know Bob's already talked to some folks on the Navajo Reservation in Arizona. There's a congregation down in South Louisiana that's interested as well. And we'd like to do more of that. Again, using video technology to spread God's Word. And it's great to have both the School of Preaching and the Truth and Love where we can work together and make some things happen in a good way. We're also doing some projects with GBN, recording some other programs to help them out as well. Stop and Think, utilizing many of the teachers in the School of Preaching. Just a little short episode that they put in between other programs. Those have been fairly successful. On the Lord's Day, which is the worship services, we're working, trying to get that up and perfected. And if my hair goes gray in the next few months, that's why, because of that program, trying to make that happen. Pearls from Proverbs is a short segment that Eddie has done. Again, just little 5-minute clips talking about some of the wisdom in the book of Proverbs, trying to make that practical. We've done some taping for Devotional Hour, and some of our past material is included on a program called Voices from the Past. Brother Paul Sane works on that, and I hope none of you are speakers on that program, because one of the requirements is you have to be dead first before you can be on there. But it's men who have spoken in years gone by, some of the old classic preaching, some men that you can't see anymore, trying to accumulate that material and put that on the Gospel Broadcasting Network. And we're tickled to be a part of that as well. What about your congregation? Well, of course, we always talk about money. You can support the program financially. And there's many people here that represent congregations who have been faithful supporters for all the years and continue. To you, I say thank you so very much, because we can't do this on our own. It takes many congregations of the Lord's church to make a program like this continue. Most importantly, publicizing the broadcast. This year, like we mentioned, we opened up 2 new markets. And one thing that I've found that a lot of people don't realize at first, they think if you want to have the TV program in your area and make it a success, first thing you need is money. Brethren, that's not true. The first thing you need is people with a desire to evangelize. That's the most important thing. You can have all the money in the world, and if people don't want to evangelize, it won't work. You need people with a desire to spread the gospel message. Because once you have that strong desire, the money's going to take care of itself. The money isn't an issue. But getting people interested in evangelism, that's the number one task. And with the program, you know, we always find a way to raise the funds to make the broadcast happen. But we need congregations who are willing to publicize the broadcast, to let people know what's out there, to help us spread the word. It makes a big difference. You know, you may be thinking, I need to talk to this person about Christ. If you have a TV program, you can use that as a tool in your personal evangelism. As you're talking to somebody, would you watch this program? Tell me what you think about it. And guess what? You've done evangelism. And you've got somebody who's shown an interest, in contact with the gospel. That's what it takes to make a broadcast a success. The money is secondary. Getting Christians interested in evangelism, that's the most important thing in the truth and love, to be honest with you. How can your congregation help? Be prepared for responses. Be prepared for responses as we broadcast this information. You know, if we're advertising your gospel meeting, be ready for people to come. Oh, glad you saw the announcement on the TV program. We're glad to have you. When people do respond, they ask for materials. Be ready, looking for those letters, and be ready to respond to that. Now, when it comes to fundraising, and I feel one side of that, I can send bulk mail letters to all these congregations, and you all who open the mail, you get piles of that stuff, don't you? And you go through, yeah, and most of them just go straight in the garbage can. Brethren, we can't do that. When our sister Pat sends a letter saying there's somebody there interested in the gospel right in your neighborhood, that letter can't make it to the trash can. That's important. And when congregations have that desire for evangelism in their mindset, that's what makes the program a success. How sad if somebody responds, somebody wants more information, and we don't do anything about it. That's the tragedy. So don't think money's the number one thing. It takes money. I won't argue that. But the most important thing is that we use that money effectively, and we follow up, and we use it as a part of our evangelism project and our evangelism program in our congregations. How do I make this successful? How do I make the Truth and Love program be all it can be? That's an easy one to answer. because you as a Christian need to evangelize. That needs to be a priority in your life. And the TV program is just like a carpenter, a tool in your tool belt. One of the things that you use, it's not everything, and the TV program will never be the be-all and end-all of evangelism. It can't. Christians getting other people to sit down with the Bible and study, that's the heart of evangelism. And we like to use the program as we can to focus people that direction, to get them introduced to the truth, get them to church buildings, get them asking for material, let you all know about it so that you can follow up with them and make Christians from them. It has worked, it does work, it will continue to work. God's gospel is the power of salvation, and we need to understand that. I thank you so much for your kind attention, and I pray if you walk out of here with nothing else, you have a desire to go talk to somebody, spread the gospel message to somebody. If you use the program, that's great. If you don't, that's fine, but spread the word. Thank you so much for your kind attention.